Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you guys how to make this full English breakfast platter. I think it's very cute for dollhouse miniatures or just something to put on your desk. We'll be using these ceramic miniature plates and this silver platter that I got from a craft store. Let's get started. So let's begin with the mushrooms. I started out with 2 balls of clay, one's white and one is translucent, and I mixed them together. Roll them out into balls and then shape them into a dome. After that, I used a ball tool to make an indent in the middle, and then I added a tiny piece of cylinder clay and put it as a stem. Here I repeated the same thing for the following mushrooms. I used some chalk pastels to give it some shading. Then I took a piece of brown clay and then rolled it out into a tiny cylinder to make sausages. Here I took some chalk pastels and shaded it again to make it a little roasted. Right over here I created the bacon slices using 3 layers of polymer clay. They were all different shades of red and white. Some of them have red and white marbling to indicate the fattiness of the bacon. I cut it into thin slices and then I textured it with a tool. You could use a toothbrush if you want. I used a needle tool to give it a slight curl to make it a little bit more realistic. Shade with chalk pastel. Next, I created the cherry tomatoes by rolling out small balls of red clay. I added green clay to make the stems. Right over here, I rolled out very tiny ovals out of tan clay to make the beans. They should be very tiny, and it took a long time to make them, but they should look like grains of rice. Right over here, I took a piece of white clay and then I cut it into a triangle to make the piece of toast. I used the excess white clay from the toast to make an egg. I used a dotting tool to give it some texture. After that, I placed a piece of yellow clay in the middle to make the yolk. Moving on, I created the black pudding by wrapping a piece of black clay around a piece of brown clay to create the black sausage look. And then I rolled it out into a cylinder and cut up small pieces. I used the dotting tool to give it some texture similar to the egg. Now it is time to assemble everything onto the plate. I took some liquid Sculpey clay and then squirted some onto the plate. I used a needle tool to spread everything evenly so everything can stick to the plate. An alternative way, if you don't have liquid Sculpey, is to bake all the pieces individually and then glue them on afterwards. If you don't want to glue, you can also use resin. As you can see, I am placing all of the tiny details onto the plate. The structure is actually based on an English breakfast that I cooked up one morning. I'll have the picture somewhere over here, and yeah. I took some liquid Sculpey clay and then I added some chalk pastels in it. I gave it a good mix and then I added the beans in there. This will be our baked beans. I went ahead and placed the baked beans in the middle of the plate to finish off the entire English breakfast. Bake according to your package's instructions. If for whatever reason you don't have access to the instructions, I would advise you to start with a very low temperature and bake your creations instead of just doing it at a very high temperature. Take it out of the oven and please wait for a bit until it cools down. And right over here, I took some acrylic paint and I went over the shading to make it a little bit more realistic. It was a little unfortunate, the mushrooms fell off, so it was an easy fix. I just used a little bit of resin to give it some shine, and on top of that, I just used the resin to glue on the mushrooms onto the plate, and then cure under UV light. Right over here, I took some resin and then I added some chalk pastels to give it a very brown look. This will be the tea that we're gonna fill our teacup with. Right over here, I used a toothpick to drop tiny droplets into the teacup. I'm very scared of spilling it everywhere, so this is the most safest way in my opinion. Here I took a very tiny glass bottle and then filled it up with resin, and I just stuck a few dried flowers in there. Right over here, I cut up a piece of fabric and then I'm going to use it as a tiny cloth for the platter. On top of that, I have some utensils to go with the platter. Right over here, I am gluing the teacup onto the plate. It gives it a little bit more realistic look if I add the spoon. Here, I just assembled everything using super glue. Finish it off by gluing the vase of flowers and you're done. Here is the final creation. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I'm really happy about how this turned out. Like for example, I think the cup of tea and the little spoon beside it was very, very cute. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. If you guys also want to see more tutorials in the future, please comment down below what you want. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.